Seal the year with a win here in the streets of Adelaide. Do some of those famous Shane Van Gisbergen burnouts. And it's going to be hot and heavy work. We know that he's not a fan of the heat here in Australia, but he is a fan of winning. We know that much. Good morning to Craig Lowndes, who's joining me for the first race of the day. And it's the last race of the year for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia Sprint Championship. Yasser Shahin likely to be crowned champion here as we roll away on the formation lap. And an interesting race yesterday, Craig. Post-race penalty for Tony Bates and Kelvin van der Linde actually handed the win to Liam Talbot and Fraser Ross. Gee, it was an up-and-down race yesterday. Their two races, actually, Craig, have been quite exciting. And what we didn't get to see yesterday, Lounsey, was the finish of that race. There was a nasty incident that wrapped things up. And this was Sergio Perez hard into the fence. Goodness me. And confirmation from the category, ouch, that Sergio broke his collarbone in that incident. So we send him our best wishes. And showing once again how strong these cars are. That is a violent impact down there. And our officials and Team Medical Australia are on the scene, as always, to make sure that our drivers are okay. And he looked a little bit groggy after that one. Good morning to you, mate. Good morning, Chad. Good morning, everyone out there. And you've got to also remember it's a left-hand drive configured car. So he went in on the driver's side and to see that impact and the way it moved those concrete barriers back, you know it was a big impact because it was a huge amount of force to move any of those blocks. But look, this is going to be interesting because yesterday Liam Talbot was on fire. Once they did their cycle through their pit stops, put the Pro-Ams back in, Liam was on a mission and he was lapping very quickly. So I'm really interested to see what happens here at the beginning. The AMs are now starting this race and the pros are getting in later. And again, for Kelvin and for Christopher Mears, the championship's on the line. So for them to hand over, for Liam Talbot and for Yasser Shahin, to hand over their championship decider to the pros, it's going to be on later in this race. Absolutely. It would take a fairly monumental turn of luck for Yasser Shahin to lose the championship from here with a 17-point lead. Talbot would have to win, and Yasser Shahin would essentially need a points penalty in this race to lose it from here. Stranger things have happened, so let's not just go calling this one just yet. But we'll tell you how they're going to line up. First and second on the championship, first and second on the grid. Don't mind that. It's a combined points for the weekend, which is how they stack up for this one. Watch out for Bates and van der Linde. They've had the fastest car this weekend. Yeah, that's Jamie Whincup. He's driving the 88 this weekend. Unfortunately, they lost their sister car, the 888, earlier in the week in qualifying. Some beautiful cars out there on a beautiful day in Adelaide. What more could you ask for? My kind of thing. Racing on a Sunday morning as we build up towards the last race of the Repco Supercars Championship. Liam Talbot versus Yasser Shahin. They've been the class of the field. One of them will be the champion at the end of the day. At the end of this race, in 40 minutes' time, can Shahin hold his nerve, have a clean race, bring it home to the checkered flag? The first flag we'll see needs to be the green, and we go racing in Adelaide. Great start for Talbot as he tries to move Shahin over. Look how dirty it is off the racing line down there. That was the big talking point from yesterday. They go bouncing across the curbs. Audi lead this race at the moment, 1-2. 1-2-3 as a matter of fact. Talbot leads the way in the streets of Adelaide. There was some nervous moments in the background. We saw one of those beautiful Bentleys bent yesterday in the centre chicane. The newer model, it's surviving here in these early stages. Yeah, I was actually quite interested to see how the Bentley actually accelerated away. These rolling starts for this category, and actually almost got up the inside of Jamie Whincup. Jamie had to go over the first chicane to keep that track position, but you can see Yasser already really aggressive on these cold tyres, and this is the coldest temperature they've encountered on a start of a race. No tyre warmers. They've had one lap to cycle around this circuit to get tyre temp, and you can tell already the top three. So Liam, Shahin and Bates already got a nice gap over Ibrahim in fourth there, and then the Bentley. It's a beautiful category. There's a nice little ascent down the inside, getting the job done. Yeah, well done to the Larkus 101 Mercedes, committing down the inside and getting that move done. The two Porsches, Scotty Taylor tried having a crack up the inside of Sargent, which Sargent's in a more of a cup car style. You can see there that white Porsche there. The Porsche, that white Porsche Sargent, is going to have more straight line speed. It's got less downforce, but then of course with that has less cornering speed. You can see there's Scotty Taylor in that beautifully prepared. He loves that black and green stripe colour code, so this is going to be an interesting battle. Sargent commits down the inside and gets the move done. He came within a whisker of what would be the Carrera Cup lap record here. Obviously won't count because it's not the Carrera Cup race, it's in a Fanatec GT World Challenge race, but shows you the speed that he's got in the old model Cup car. Talbot, Shaheen Bates. Talbot doing a nice job here. They need to win this race, and for him to win it, he's got to be able to lead here, because we've got, obviously, the factory Audi boys yet to come in the back half of this race. So it would be a chance for him to get into the pits, hand the car over to Fraser Ross, and then Fraser is going to have a race on his hands, trying to keep the two factory Audi stars behind him.
He's going to have to get the elbows out later on this race. You can hear that tyre still coming up the tank. You hear that chattering, this new bitumen surface through this section of the track. About 70% of the circuit's been freshly laid. It's just a really smooth, you can see how black and dark it is, so trying to get tight temp, as I said.
Oh dear.
That's out of, just trying to think, where's that out of? It's out of turn 9.
So this could bring about a safety car here, which is not what Liam Talbot wants, because he's trying to build that lead. And that's two of the KFC Audis that have been involved in some incidents. Thankfully, the one yesterday was fixed up. Stupid Audi. Going once, going twice. Crunch. Ouch. That was a hefty hit.
He was helped initially, and then they had contact. This is a better angle. Contact there, and then the Audi you can see going sideways, up on the curb, trying to straighten it up. The Mercedes helps that, but then it also helps it steer it straight into those concrete walls.
And the Mercedes will be carrying a fair bit of damage as well. It peeled the left rear Pirelli straight off the rim. And that car is clearly done for the race. That was a nasty hit.
Well, this is what Liam Talbot didn't want, as you're mentioning. He wanted to get a nice gap, and he was starting to do that. And again, what we saw yesterday with a couple of incidents, these cars are full carbon, so all that carbon shrapnel that's all over the ground there, there are going to be other drivers on track now got to be very mindful not to run over that, because the carbon will go straight through these Pirelli tyres like hot knife through a butter. So this is going to be a bit of a longer clean-up to retrieve that Audi, as well as sweep all that carbon mess off. And of course now tyres will cool down. So Liam, Yasser Shaheen, Bates, all these guys, Ibrahim, all going to have to try and maintain not only tyre temp, but brake temp as well.
Well, still that Mercedes AMG is circulating, so it survived for now. Let's take you back to yesterday. Second of 3 races. Gee, it was exciting. Their 2 races have been absolute barnstormers this weekend. It started with a nasty incident at the start, and it finished with a nasty incident at the end. This one, watch the Audi and the Bentley side by side over the curbs here. And for Matt Belford, he took a pretty big hit in that Bentley.
He did. You can see the Audi just doing a nice 360 pirouette, not hitting anything, luckily, and no one hitting him, which was more important. And, of course, the Bentley had a massive impact. But these guys, the pro guys, Calvin Vendelin and Christopher Mears, this is Fraser Ross trying to get through lap traffic, or not lap traffic, just some traffic. But those 2 pro guys I was mentioning were absolutely putting on a fantastic display of what these cars are capable of.
This was a really big moment. Pit stop window would open. Mees diving into pit lane, but missing it. Not only did it cost him about 3 seconds, it cost him a 10-second penalty as well. Pit stops, and Vandelinder's job was done at that point. Not that we knew it at the time, but he had a 5-second penalty hanging over his head for a restart infringement. And then the race really lit up at the end with Liam Talbot chasing down Prince Abubakar Ibrahim and making that move down to turn 1. And then late in the race, we had this incident here. That was a nasty crash. Sergio Perez hard into the fence. Confirmation that he's got a broken collarbone. But that yellow flag incident there, Craig, meant that the race leader, Tony Bates, got held up. And he was trying to manage that 5-second gap, and he lost 8 seconds going through this yellow flag alone.
Yeah, absolutely. He did the right thing to obviously, with the yellow flag, especially an impact like this, it's obviously to keep caution and get through it. You can see there that it's extracted him out. But the closing lap, it was Bates, and you can see right there, Liam Talbot closing it almost down to 1.5 seconds. So Liam was on fire at the end of this race, and this is what he doesn't want now for the start of this race, because he wants to get a nice healthy gap to hand it over to Fraser Ross, and then those 2 pro guys and the other Audis are going to be hunting him down.
So yeah, that was an entertaining race yesterday, and we send Sergio Perez our best wishes. We saw him in the hands of the medics yesterday, and hopefully he's back in time for the 12-hour, just 2 months away. He raced with a pretty good deal of success there this year. And if you're wondering, Tony, our camera guy, who was down there getting that amazing shot of Sergio's Audi, spearing into the fence, just feet away from him. Tony's okay too, which is good. Big shout out to not just the officials out there. There's our hard-working camera guys and Tony doing a fine job, but also all the media crew around this venue, particularly those who are on the front line down there on a hot day like today. Our fire officials as well, they'll be wearing all the fireproof clothing on a 35-degree day in the sunshine. There they are, working hard as well. It'll be a hot day for them, Craig, today.
Oh, absolutely, and they do it a fantastic job for not only recoveries, but to do what they're doing right now is make sure that the circuit is in perfect condition to make sure we get a good restart. And, of course, the pit window opens up in less than 5 minutes. So, again, Liam's got really limited time to open up a gap to Yasser Shaheen before the pit stop rotations opens up.
Old school outfits. I imagine a few of these fireys would have been back here for the Grand Prix days. And there's more international racing on the horizon as well, Craig, an event that I know you love. It's the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12-hour. You've been a winner there before, February 3 to 5. You'll be able to catch it on Channel 506, but there's nothing like being there in person for this one. You have to be there for the pre-dawn start of that race. Watching the headlights rip around the mountain is like nothing else. And ticketek.com.au if you want to come and join us for this one. The Thrifty Newcastle 500, the first race for the Gen 3 era. I reckon Shane Van Gisbergen's going to have 97 on the car because I doubt he'll ever be running number 1 on it again after the luck he's had this weekend. March 10 to 12, the date for that one. A great way to start the championship. Back-to-back events, big events in New South Wales. Looking forward to that one. So, BP Ultimate Safety Car period here, and this is why. And it fascinates me, we had Todd Hazelwood's crash yesterday. Even small, low speed, not small, but low speed incidents around a bruising place like this are still big crashes.
Oh, absolutely. This is the slowest corner on track, turn 9. You can see the Mercedes there trying to rotate, didn't quite get it enough. The Audi...
Wow, it blew it straight off the rim when it went over the curb. That left rear.
And that's the problem you got at the start of races where low tyre pressures, and obviously everyone's trying to get as low as they can to get the longevity out of it. But when you have curbs like this in a street race, in the sense of the crowning of the roads, the manholes, the white lines, everything else, you've got to be really careful in where you place the cars in the early stages of the race. Until those tyres come up to temperature, they're vulnerable for that. There's an Audi headlight. Someone can get for a souvenir.
We were talking yesterday about what a Bentley headlight will cost. Reliably informed by our production crew that it's about £5,500 worth of headlight for an Audi. And obviously very expensive sport. Probably a lot of people wondering at home, Craig, can you insure a race car? We've got Shannon's insurance car leading the field at the moment.
Well, I know through the Porsche Carrera Cup and everything else, yes, they do.
Yep.
To a certain extent. Like, obviously, won't cover the whole crash damage, but to a certain extent, yes, they can. And in this category, I believe they can as well. So it goes some way to helping the repair bill. But ultimately, as I said, these cars are full carbon. So carbon is expensive.
Insurance not cheap on a race car, put it that way, as you can imagine. The other thing that's going to happen here is we're going to get very close to the pit stop window opening. And we may even see, for the first time this weekend, yellow flag pit stops, which would obviously give... You want to pit at the beginning of the pit stop window anyway to give your pros the most time of the race, but if you can get it done under yellow, happy days.
What we saw in race 1 is actually Yasser Shaheen actually did 2 to 3 extra laps once the pros had actually got into the other cars. And Yasser did a fantastic job, and I was actually concerned at the time thinking that he's overshot the mark in the sense of staying out too long and allowing the pros to actually close the gap. But once Christopher Mears got in the car, he actually came out with a good, healthy gap. And then the great battle between the two European drivers with Kelvin van der Linde closing the gap and having a great late race battle between the two of them, the two pros. And we talk about it because they don't want to go back to Europe going to be the second best.
Indeed. Craig, I hope you've got plenty of energy today because it's going to be a very big day here at the Velo Adelaide 500. Huge day of action coming up. And for supercars, we've got one more Armroll qualifying session. And when we go into that shootout, that will decide who the pole winner is for the year. We've got Cam Waters and Will Davison hot at it. One pole separating them. And I'd be very interested to see if Will Davison can fight back today in Armroll qualifying, or can Cam Waters put a full stop on that one. And the supercars race will be kicking off at 3:15 p.m. in the Arvo. So looking very much forward to all that action. That's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, if you're wondering.
It's going to be an interesting race. This is the last day of school for these guys. So last time we see these current cars racing they'll go to Super 2 next year, which you'll see them racing, but in the main game. And this is going to be interesting whether there's going to be a little bit of paybacks, a little bit of thank yous along the way. A lot of drivers are like elephants. They got some good memories, long-term memories.
What better way to just finish off before the Christmas break by getting square. So then, we're just about at that all-important 15-minute mark for the pit stop window opening. It's 10 seconds away. If you could get it done, we'll probably be green next time by. So if you can get it done on this lap, gee, for Liam Talbot, he'd want to be in a position to get that car in right now, but it's going to go green. What do you do? Do you go back to racing or do you pit?
He's pitting.
They're all going to pit.
They're all pit.
They're all pitting on the green flag. And one car is going to go on and lead this race. And that'll be the Superbarn Audi by the looks of it.
Now, this is going to come down to the pit stop time duration.
Yes. So the longest in that list is the 24. That's going to be 97 seconds. And the shortest in the list is going to be car 1, 87 seconds. One more lap behind the safety car would have really helped, particularly car 24. Van der Linde is going to have 10 seconds to make up on Christopher Mies here in the back half of this race.
As you can see, they're almost line astern there. So the moment, the 88 Mercedes right there, you can see Jamie Whincup jumping on aboard. He's got a clear exit, but everything behind him is quite narrow. So hopefully that that number 1 Audi can get out of there cleanly, get into the fast lane and get going.
How's the timing of the pit window opening as the cars arrived at the pit lane entrance just as the green came out?
So when you've got 10 seconds to go, you're right to start it up. When you've got 10 seconds to go, you're right to start it up.
You can hear the communications.
Be a bit going on. Go pit lane time. Please, 30 seconds.
Just asking about that smoke that's coming off the top of that Audi. I don't think Yasser Shahin is too worried about it.
Championship on the line for him.
20 seconds to go now. 20 seconds to go.
Slow and steady in the pit stops, waiting for the times to count down. If you're wondering, they do have a minimum time that they must sit there. It's not like a normal pit stop in supercars where you get it done and you send it out. Oh boy, that doesn't look too good. That was steam or smoke coming out of that back.
After the green car,
off the Audi now. There's half a chance he could slip on it down here as well. Christopher Mies needs to be very careful. Race continuing. James Konduras, the race leader, yet to pit. There was a huge trail of liquid at the back of that Audi.
That's concerning because that's not only there it is there. You can see that trail coming out of the pit bay into the. And you also wonder who was further down pit lane. You can see that that looks like Coolant as well. So there's going to be some interesting developments as this race goes on. If that's got a leaking radiator or a hose, that's going to be detrimental for Yasser Shahin. Because you mentioned the only thing that's going to cause him not to have an opportunity to take the clinch the championship is actually if he hasn't done the DNF.
Yeah. Well, now it's gone from them relying on Christopher Mies versus Van der Linde. Now they're relying on Van der Linde because they need Van der Linde to catch and beat Fraser Ross. And here he is in the background working his way through. He's got 2 cars in between him and the Shannon's car. This is going to be really interesting. Look at them fanning out, the 2 Mercs. Whincup.
Jamie takes 2 for 1. Nicely done. Frank Taylor. Scotty loves his cars. He loves racing, but he hates crash damage. Which we all do.
I bet. Especially when you're paying the bills. That's more than fair. So Konduras still leads, yet to pit. From Samadi, Sini, Taylor and Griffith. And I just watched the Audi here.
Come out of the Bentley. That was the other car that was losing fluid.
Bentleys have had some engine dramas so far today.
17 laps, 17 laps.
That's very concerning. That's a lot of fluid come out of the Audi. I think he might realise something's...
That was the, I told you it was serious.
Yeah.
Oh. Now what's going on here with the Palakis car? This was in the wars earlier with the incident that brought out the safety car.
He wants the adjuster. It's called a hammer.
The manual adjuster. Put a bit of tape on this car as well. They do have, obviously, the big pit stop window to get this work done as Mies sets the fastest first sector of the race. Oh.
And these cars rely on a lot of aero, so anytime you take a winglet off or a corner off, it absolutely has massive consequences to the aero and how the car feels and how it handles for a driver. So that's going to be really interesting once the Mercedes gets back out there. But at the moment, Christopher Mies, he's doing a fantastic job. He won't want to repeat. We won't have an opportunity to repeat what he did on the pit entry, but he doesn't want to make any mistakes. And if that fluid is still coming out of that Audi, It's something that team are going to be very closely looking at. But a great sounding. That's the V10 sitting behind the driver, the mid-engine. Very well developed car, the Audi. Spent a lot of times in its evolution of the way it's gone about. But the V10 behind there has got a nice engine delivery, as well as the note. You can hear the V8 of the Mercedes front engine. It's got that grunty V8 sound, and then you've got the Bentley with the V8 twin turbo. Another very distinctive sound.
Oh, here comes Van der Linde on an absolute charge. He's reeling in that Shannon's Insurance Audi up the road of Fraser Ross at a fair click here. Mies, despite whatever liquid was pouring out of that car in pit lane, is still flying out there. He's got the fastest lap of the race.
Turn 8, fastest corner on track. These guys are almost flat. See Calvin there, the car, the attitude just bouncing around nicely. He's closing that gap to Fraser Ross, nicely under brakes. They got ABS, they got the traction control, so they'll be using everything of it. And actually got an adjustment on the steering wheel. All these cars have got full adjustment of ABS. You can either crank it up or crank it down. Same with the traction control. So as these tyres, the Pirelli tyres, start to wear away a little bit as the race goes on, you can put more traction control in, which dulls down that throttle response. So there's a lot of aids the drivers can utilise in these cars as this race goes on. And don't dismiss Jamie at the back.
True.
He's been frustrated the last couple of days just trying to get up to speed. He had an incident in qualifying. Then they had an incident in the race where one of the belts come off the front of the Mercedes engine and lost oil pressure. Thankfully, he didn't do any other damage. I got told by the team that he was driving like a supercar, bouncing over everything. These cars are not designed for all that. So maybe a little bit of driver-induced problems, but he's doing a fantastic job now. He's sitting, once it all filters out, in 5th position, chasing down that Bentley.
He goes okay at this race car driver thing, Genuine Cup. Give him enough time to figure out any vehicle and he'll be there.
I remember the first time we all drove together in the Mercedes. He was underestimated the nose, the length of it. Where you sit in the Mercedes, which is so far back in the configuration of the car, then you got the Audi, you almost feel like you're sitting on the nose of it. So again, where you position your drivers in these cars makes a big difference. And a little secret and a little birdie topics, I was there, that when we were testing down at Phillip Island, he actually hit the pit wall coming into the garage because he underestimated how long the nose of the Mercedes was.
You don't want to crash into your own garage. That's doesn't matter who you are. Even if you have a go.
14 laps, 14 to go.
They reckon about 14 laps to go. Remember, it's a timed race, but the crews are working off what a lap time will give you in terms of duration. Gee, this is exciting. Fight for the leaders on here.
So the difference in lap time between these two was half a second. Calvin van der Linde, he was half a second faster than Fraser Ross. So see there, Christopher Mears got the fastest lap of the race at the moment at 18.2. And the others are Calvin's in the high 18s. Fraser Ross is in the low 19s.
Oh.
There it is.
And contact again between the two Audis this time.
And the Bentley's sitting right there saying, hey, thank you very much.
And here comes the Bentley into the fight. Hobson now, this is for position. He can sniff out a race win, and the Bentley, for the first time, has got in between an Audi fight. Look at the commitment through turn 8. But for the championship, that hands it back as it stands in the favour of Sheehan.
And you got Jamie sitting right behind Fraser Ross. So Fraser Ross, at the moment, he'll having his eyes going forward, backwards, everywhere, trying to make sure he gets track position. That Bentley's doing a fantastic job to put position on Fraser Ross. He got a great run out of 7, and he got a really good run through 8.
So, Mies leading this race with a 15.5-second lead. And I'm still so curious as to how that thing's operating after dumping a ton of whatever it was, that liquid, in pit lane. And this is where it started. Wow, how about that for car control from Fraser Ross?
And Fraser Ross, he's classified as a Pro-Am, but he cycles around and lap time-wise is fantastic. So, see there the switchback, that's turn 6. Calvin just trying to set him up. That's that exit of turn 6. Puts his nose up into turn 7. Fraser Ross says no, thank you. Just gives him some room, and then you can see the Bentley there gets a really good exit out of turn 7. Long run down to turn 8 and gets the job done. So Fraser Ross now has actually got past Hobson, regained that position. That Bentley there is sitting right behind him. So Fraser Ross, as I said, he's no slouch. He'll try and do the best he can, utilise the Audi for where its strengths are, which is generally everywhere, because the Audis are well balanced. It's good under brakes, good on turn, and it looks after its tyres. So now that for Hobson, he's got now Jamie Whincup behind him in the Mercedes. So this is where it's going to be interesting to see whether Jamie now can get in front of that beautifully presented Bentley. And then you've got Fraser Ross still sitting there, and Fraser Ross knows that the championship's on the line.
Absolutely it is. Needs to be aggressive. Back into the middle of this fight. Ash Samadi has his mirrors full with Paul Stokel in that KFC car. KFC cars have been in everything this week, from qualifying through to the races. Been a number of incidents. Some hard racing out there this weekend. Oh, Samadi runs it wide, and Stokel, it's all he needed to work on through.
Paul Stokel's got a huge amount of experience and knows that he does almost like Shane Van Gisbergen does, just pokes the nose in there. And of course, as the driver in front, you're sort of looking at where this is coming from, but you forget about where you're going. So you make your own mistake, and Paul Stokel created that. You can see there, he's opened up a gap really easily.
Comes the Super Barn Audi all the way in. Samadi is wise to it, leaves the door open. Nice driving. Sini in there as well as Samadi was swinging back onto the racing line. We had the Asian Audi R8 GT Cup here for a few seasons, and that was really cool. One-make Audi racing. And it feels a little bit like I'm watching that right now, watching the R8 scrap it out.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to have these cars running around. It is completely different, as I mentioned, to a supercar in the way that you drive these. Paddle shift, AWS, traction control. You can see Sargent there just sitting right behind these guys. And again, that Cup car will be so much faster down these straights because of the lack of aero. You can see him close up, but then he will lose that advantage once he gets into this zone where the Audis are superior under brakes and round corners. And a bit further down, it's great to see the Brabham name still running around.
Absolutely, Semi-Brabs.
Leading the GT4 car.
There's a bit of driver training as well for Mercedes-AMG Australia. And they've got an event happening at Bathurst this week, doing some corporate driving. And unfortunately for Mercedes-AMG, most of their instructors are here racing. So they've had to make a few phone calls. Peter Hackett, the lead instructor there. Already looking forward to seeing him at the 12-hour next year. We always get to do some very cool things. The 12-hour driving AMGs around. No, I've never had a bad time at a Mercedes.
No, I'm just thinking no. I should have been quicker with that, because any time you get to drive one of these cars, whether it's the, I've been lucky enough with the Porsche and the Ferrari and then the Mercedes, and the McLaren, that they're beautifully prepared. They've got their strengths and weaknesses, and they talk about the balance of power, or BOP.
Yep.
And that's something that's controlled by the air intake, little restrictor that they put into the cars. And they basically go off the performance of the cars, the lap times, and then they either put more or less of a restriction into the engines to get the balance of power, because, as I mentioned, you've got some front engine, rear engines, naturally aspirated engines like the Mercedes and the Audi, and then you've got the Bentley, which has got a V8 twin turbo. So lots going on, and it's great to see the manufacturers really have a good think about how they develop the evolution of the new car. Audi, as I said, have been fantastic and very instrumental, doing a lot of testing in Europe, and have been very successful throughout their career, and the Mercedes are the same. So any given time you get into any one of these cars, you've always got a smile on your face. Absolutely.
And Audi were really the first team to bite at the 12-hour when it turned into a GT3 race. I think there was, what, 3 GT3 cars? Oh, that's a really awkward spot to be stuck. Thankfully, just off the racing line. Had a hard day, this car.
Turn 4, that is. There's Paul Morris in the GT4.
You're relying on the officials, I imagine, here, Craig, to do the U-turn.
Well, that's the beauty about this. He's got some flat.
Oh, he's got a left rear down. That's not going to help. Now it's really in an awkward spot.
Oh, and you can see the under tray there. It's falling apart. The rear wheel looks like it's about to fall apart. You don't want to be sideways and on an exit of a blind exit like he is right now.
Oh, which I heard that one.
Gee, Scotty Taylor makes a great move around the out.
Oh, boy.
Christopher Mears.
This is the lead pack coming through now.
He wants to get out of there very smart.
8 to go. There's a car stopped, turn 4.
Well done. He's got it going, and good communication from the teams to let him know that he's there.
And again, you can see how the under tray there from that earlier incident. This will give a better view. Yeah, I think he's their tyre. Tyre had already gone down, so whether he'd run over some debris or something, going into turn 4, you can see the rear had already lost it. But this is the problem you've got in some regards to this category, that they rely on all this under-trade.
Well, that tyre copped a whack on that opening stanza, the incident that he had with the Audi. So I wonder if it's been a slow puncture maybe.
Now, this brings out a safety car with about 10 minutes to go. It's going to be really interesting.
The race fan in me is certainly hoping that I get to see Mies versus Van der Linde one more time this week. There's 16 seconds separating Mies from Van der Linde. Tell you what, these Audis must be built pretty tough, these V10 engines, because I don't know what this thing dropped in pit lane, but it didn't need it.
Yeah, I'm surprised. They didn't change a drink bottle, and drink bottle system normally is on the passenger side, so that I can sort of cancel that out. It was just sort of strange because the steam smoke that was coming out looked like it was coming out from the roof. So that was a bit bizarre. Whether it actually was just overheating when it was coming down, because you also got to remember they came in.
Well, and this is the other Audi pitting now. So Van der Linde comes in for a stop-go penalty. Who knows what's going to happen next?
Well, I was just going to make a mention that I'm not surprised if the engines were overheating, because they actually pitted straight off the back of a safety car. So again, like most race cars, they rely on the airflow and the speed of the car to get the air through those radiators. So when you're idling around at 60, 80 kilometres an hour, cars and supercars, they all generate more temperature and heat up. And then when they've pitted, the times sitting in pit lane, I'm probably not surprised that it actually maybe overheated and was just the overflow liquid coming out of the car.
When's the last time you saw a stop-go penalty? Old school.
Yeah, that is very old school, but normally a stop-go penalty is pretty severe in the sense because you stop and go, and there it is.
Right, now the yellow comes out. Well, that's good news for Van der Linde. It'll help him catch up to the pack. But he's going to have Ross, Hobson, Wingcup and Walden in the middle of it all. So race control did their best to see if they could get car 101 moving. The Larkus 101 car.
Now, is that penalty, the stop-go penalty, is that from what Bates did or what Calvin done? So a bit puzzling, because normally a penalty is just a drive-through where you actually don't stop and go. But anyway, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay, understood, mate.
The fire is giving him the official signal for kill it down there. So this car's been turned off. Just looking towards the other championships. Mike Griffith has, at this moment at least, got GT4 wrapped up. GT Trophy looks to be going the way of Michael Kokonos. And Gary Higgin and Paul Stokel doing a nice job at the moment to have their hands on the AM Trophy. Laurie Schmidt, the team in race control. To his left is Carl Reindler, driving standards observer, and also the medical car driver in Formula One these days.
It's also, I'm just looking at the times, it's actually going to help Paul Morris. He was almost half a lap behind Brabham in the GT4 category. So this is also going to help Paul Morris get on the back of the other GT4. Another replay of the incident. Tyre had already gone down. You can see the smoke and had nowhere to go. Noses into the fence. Does a 100-point turn. But unfortunately, with that under tray and everything else, you just can't continue, because that's going to dislodge off the front of the Mercedes, and then it's going to sit on track. So anytime you have carbon fibre, and I emphasise this because carbon fibre is one of your worst enemies on a circuit like this, because it's got nowhere to go. So the recovery crew on the scene, 7 minutes to go. Hopefully we get some green flag running back in here. Mies, Ross, now Wingcup and Hobson on timing at least are showing that they've swapped positions. We'll see if we can get a visual on that one. There's the race leader. Yes.
And yeah, they have. Well, that's unusual behind the safety car.
Yeah. Jamie's pretty wise about that side of it, so he would have definitely was confident that he got the pass done before the yellow flags had come out.
Okay. And hearing it was for falling short of their pit stop time for car 24, which is why they had to come in and serve the stop-go penalty.
And that's frustrating as a race driver, because it's not your doing. It's a team's doing that they've miscalculated. But in saying that, what you said yesterday, Chad, with on the dash has also a running time for a driver visually to be able to see how close they are for leaving pit exit. So for Calvin, it was sort of maybe a misunderstanding of what they thought or what they should have done. You see Jamie there swerving and weaving. Hardest thing is trying to keep tyre temp.
And if there is a potential issue with car 1, I imagine it's not overly happy sitting behind a safety car right now going slow either. Whatever it was, it may have been able to clear at race speed, getting some airflow through it. But I wonder if going slowly right now might be hurting car 1.
That seems to be the plausible explanation, because it was really strange that they come off the back of a safety car. As I mentioned, that these race cars rely on airflow, so you can see Christopher there just getting out of the draft of the BP Ultimate safety car, just trying to get some air into it. This is where Calvin van der Linde come in and did that stop-go penalty.
Bring it in.
Stop.
And
go.
As the name suggests. And he goes. A couple of nice little black licorice straps down on the pit lane.
We're just over 5 minutes to go in this race, so hopefully they can clear that other Mercedes and we can actually see some good racing. And we did see it, as you said, Chad, like these two guys very well equipped, knowing what the Audi's capabilities are, coming from Europe. They do a lot more racing over there, so that's going to be something that's really fascinating to see how Calvin now just gets back through this field. Mercedes is now on the tilt track, so hopefully in a matter of the next lap or two, we can get back onto green racing.
Should be a cool restart. Now, we did see van der Linde pinged for a restart infringement yesterday, so that'll be job 1 for Mies, is to make sure that he abides by the rules. Just a 25 words or less version here, Lounsey. Australia's restart rules very different to what you'd see in Europe.
Well, that's the thing. When you've got some European drivers come in, you've got to get them up to speed, and the emphasis then is on the team to keep relaying the information to the driver, especially in this moment. So it's maintain, no swerving, maintain your speed. Once these lights go out on the BP Ultimate safety car, maintain your speed, no swerving, no braking, no accelerating, and then you got to wait for the green flag to come out, and there's your go point. But you go before that green flag comes out, as we mentioned, you got penalised for yesterday.
That's exactly where van der Linde fell afoul of it. I didn't have the word count going, but it may have been 1 or 2 over there, but I'll let you off because you're so eloquent.
Said lights out. So now, Christopher Mies.
Oh, that was a really late lights out, and they're all going to be queuing up here. There could be more drama yet.
Because the green flag only comes out when the safety car comes into pit lane, so you might see now should be some green waving flags, and this is up to the lead car to then determine when they accelerates, and he's off, he's gone.
Safety car got the late call to box then, and he came, and it was back to green flag running, which means we get more racing laps in here, which is good news. Mies leads the field. He's got some lappers as rear gunners, and Ross will be keen to side through that one lap car down here at turn 4. He goes aggressive, and the lap car throws the block. That was good. We got the lap car giving the guy who's second in the race, and don't argue in 2 corners in a row. He doesn't know. He thinks he's second in the race, I reckon. He doesn't know he's a lap down. Now he gets him done.
This has actually helped Jamie, the Bentley. Hobson in the Bentley.
Crazy stuff.
So 2nd, 3rd and 4th now, and now 5th. Calvin's about to jump on the back of the Bentley, so this is going to be a battle within a battle now. Christopher Mies, you can see he's gone in the distance. He's got a 2-point, almost a 3-second now gap on the opening lap.
Oh, it worked out beautifully for Christopher Mies. You'll owe that guy a nice cold beer at the end of the weekend as a result. Still falling back through the pack here, but staying out of trouble nicely down here at turn 9. And that is Kokonos, who's going to be crowned our champion for the year. So he's got his own championship to fight for. There's Michael Kokonos in the Launch Racing Audi. He's done a nice job here with Brad Schumacher's unfortunate incident yesterday to pick it up. Now what's happening here in the background? Here comes van der Linde. He's through on the Bentley. Yep. 2 minutes to go. He's got a few spots to make up. As it stands, leading this race, Mies is going to be doing enough to hand that championship over to Yasser Shahin.
I reckon about 2 laps remaining. By the time they cycle around this one, get another one started. Christopher Mies, he's checked out. 3.2 second gap now over Fraser Ross. Fraser Ross is going to have his eyes in the mirrors. He's got Jamie Whincup sitting right behind him. And as you mentioned, Calvin van der Linde, he's on a mission. There he is. 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
So one last twist in the 2022 tail. Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. They fight their way up towards turn 8. Ross, Whincup, van der Linde.
Guarantee he'll be sending it down. There he goes.
The slide. Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
That was great car control.
Oh my goodness me.
How was that? He went right, then went left, and then he had a hole full of tank slapper going on. You see the black lines going.
You can't do that in a sports car. Van der Linde can.
How was Jamie? He was aggressive.
Man. And he's cooled it off now, van der Linde. He's rolled out of it. Check this out. Throws the almighty move down the inside.
Last lap.
Whincup blocks it. He goes back the other way, and he does everything he can to keep it off the fence.
Great car control.
My goodness me, this young South African guy, he sure knows how to pedal.
But I'm not surprised, because that's how they race in Europe. They race for keeps. And this is where I think for him, he'd probably be smiling, going, okay, finally an Aussies are going to block me, give me something to do. So now Jamie is on the back of Fraser Ross.
What a cool moment this is for Fraser Ross. He's on the streets of Adelaide. He's got Jamie Whincup breathing down his neck. Fancy this. They'll be wondering, how did I find myself in this scenario right now? Can he keep it behind him? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This will be the last lap. First and second in the championship, putting on a show here.
The Audi's got some good straight line speed, but you can see where the Mercedes is strong on the brakes, closes it right back up. But Jamie's only got one more opportunity, and I reckon that's into the last corner if he can.
So here we go then. A chance to crown a champion, and a local man as well who's sharing with German Christopher Mies, Yasser Shahin. They've done so much for South Aussie Motorsport, so it's fitting that he should be crowned a champion here in his hometown. Mies and Shahin win the race. Shahin is your champion.
Okay, mate.
And behind him, Fraser Ross holds on and keeps two of the best drivers in the world behind him. Well done, Fraser. Liam Talbot, his co-driver, second in the championship, off to Asia on Monday. Actually, I think he's going there straight off the back of this race for testing tomorrow. Well done to Michael Kokonos, your champion in the AM class. There's Liam Talbot celebrating top 3 in the championship. They've done exceptionally well there. Well, that was entertaining. Always a pleasure to be able to share the commentary box with Craig Lowndes, calling some action on the streets of Adelaide. The 3 races for Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. Their sprint championship wraps up. And well done to Chris Mies. I'll give a special shout out as well to Garth Tander, because he's been sharing car 1 so far this year with Yasser Shahin as well. So he's certainly done his bit to help the Ben Motorsport Park Melbourne Performance Centre Audi R8 win the Australian Championship. And a special moment for Yasser here. And a local South Aussie crowned national champion in South Australia. Not too many people can say they've had that happen. It may happen again later today in Super 3. Okay, here we go then with the race 3 highlights. And how about this fight down towards turn 1? Liam Talbot holding his nerve. Yasser Shahin playing cautiously at the beginning of this race. And we lasted a couple laps before we had this incident down here at turn 9. The KFC Audi just watched the left rear tyre, wham, straight off the rim, turns him back, hard right into the Mercedes, which spits him left into the fence, and crunch. Nasty, nasty hit, that one. And that would bring about the first of 2 BP Ultimate Safety Car periods in the race. And Car 101 was able to continue, albeit would see it back in the wars later in the race. How about that moment? The pit stop window opened up just as the field were coming to the green flag. And then, incredibly, Car 1, who is leading the race at the end of the pit stops, dumps a ton of liquid. Yasser Shahin can't believe what he's seeing. You'd never believe that car won the race. It was just one of those races. When we got back into it, Fraser Ross peeling his way through on the Bentley. And then this moment, listen out. Screech, crunch, bang. And that front splitter was split. Back to green flag conditions late in the race. Vandalinder on Whincup. Check this out. An almighty slide. There was every chance that car was going to spread itself into carbon fibre confetti down there at turn 9. Somehow he held onto it. Christopher Mies with a wave to the Adelaide locals here, gets a race win. Richly deserved. He's been so fast this weekend. Set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:18.0. Vandalinder returns with the lap record from yesterday. And that was the action that we had in that one. The view from the Century Batteries chopper cam, isn't that a wonderful sight and a wonderful summer's day here? We've got the drivers' parade still to come, a chance for the stars to get up and close to the fans. It's going to be a really big day here at the Velo Adelaide 500.
It's the season finale, and we're capping it off in style. Supercars are back on the streets of Adelaide for the Velo Adelaide 500.
I will bring back the Adelaide 500 to the streets of Adelaide.
This circuit is no stranger to action.
He's got it! Over and over! Big trouble for Whincup!
And we can't wait to see what it has in store for us today.
Crowd rises for what's been the wildest of wild days.
Supercars will hit the track for Armour All qualifying, the all-important Top 10 shootout, and then the final race of 2022. 250 kilometres around one of the world's best street circuits. We'll also reflect on the season that was.
Even from the very first event in Sydney, you could tell we were in for a wild ride.
And crown our new Supercars champion.
You need to come back so we can race together.
I know,
We
right?
needed to do a wild card.
Or do
this
you want to race
weekend.
Bathurst together?
We can't wait to finish the season on a high. It's the Velo Adelaide 500. It's all live in HD and ad break free and race right here on Fox Sports.